Big Oil says President Biden is directly responsible for high gas prices and food prices, and they can prove it. Biden and Xi Jinping of China have a 3-hour discussion to avoid war between the two countries. The battle for Speaker of the House heats up, and you'll never guess who each party wants to put forward. And Biden's top border director resigns in order to avoid being publicly fired. By the way, thank you guys so much for liking and sharing these videos. I'm just a small news agency, so I really appreciate it. The United States Congress is back from midterm break and ready to get back to work for the American people. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said, "All I can tell you is that we are going to try to have as productive a lame duck session as possible." So doesn't really inspire a lot of hope. Now, the main areas he wants his Senate to focus on are overhauling U.S. election changes, codifying same-sex marriage, voting on leadership for the next Congress starting in January, and deciding how to move forward with the January 6th committee, as many members of the committee will no longer be serving in Congress. Now, according to Chuck Schumer, he needs around $34 million of taxpayer money in order to continue the January 6th committee and Capitol riot hearings. I wonder how much they've already spent of our money, but he says we need $34 million more of taxpayer money. Now, over the weekend, President Biden held a nearly 3-hour private meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Biden said the meeting went very well. The two presidents understand each other. China is not going to make a move on Taiwan, and we are not going to enter a new era of Cold War with China. In fact, Xi Jinping said he would very much like to deepen the business relationship between China and the United States. So basically depend on each other even more for buying and selling goods. Secretary of State Janet Yellen said the meeting was to demonstrate to China that the United States wants competition, not conflict. The climate change conference in Egypt is now over. Wasn't it so nice to see 400 private jets fly in with leaders telling the rest of us serfs not to use so much oil and gas? I just love when the global elite burns more oil in a weekend than I do in 2 years. Tell me publicly to stop polluting so much. So thank you so much, you guys. Well, Democrats have kept the majority in the Senate and are even on track to possibly keep the House of Representatives. Although most election analysts believe Republicans will hold a slim majority in the House. Senator Rick Scott of Florida over the weekend said Republicans failed. He said candidates didn't get the support they needed. Mitch McConnell pulled money from almost all Trump-associated elections because he would rather have power than influence. Scott also called for new leadership within the Republican Party, but didn't even have the courage to challenge McConnell himself for the seat. Republicans will vote for who will be the Senate leader later this week. Senator Josh Hawley said it's time to burn down the Republican Party and start from scratch. Now, some interesting ideas are being floated. The first one is by Democrats. Democrats say if someone outside of Congress can be made Speaker of the House, then maybe all Democrats should vote to elect Liz Cheney as the Speaker of the House. After all, she understands Republicans very much, but is obviously a Democrat. It would be a great way to stick it to Republicans while having someone loyal to Democrats in power. So basically, they want Liz Cheney to be Speaker of the House. However, Nina Turner, a new politician from Illinois, said, "People are living paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford medical care and are struggling to put food on the table. Basically, let's quit joking around and get serious about helping the American people." Now, on the Republican side, Republicans are calling for former President Donald Trump to be made Speaker of the House instead of Kevin McCarthy of California. They say we'll keep Trump from running for president, but we'll give someone with courage the opportunity to do what is necessary to make Congress better, basically do all the investigations that Republicans have wanted to do for many years now. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you support Liz Cheney or Donald Trump? Or should we keep House Speaker Nancy Pelosi? Or is it time for new blood and new ideas to take control of the Speaker of the House position? Let me know your thoughts down below. Now, one of the benefits of the midterm election are the shakeups and the new focus that naturally comes after a midterm election. For example, I find it interesting that all these top Democrat donating companies like Disney and Facebook, for example, announced they are firing tens of thousands of employees, but waited until after the election to ruin these employees' lives. Wasn't that nice of them to wait until the election had happened? Also, President Biden's border security head, Chris Magnus, has resigned after 5 million people have illegally snuck into the United States, and enough fentanyl has come across the border to kill every human on the planet multiple times. But there's not a problem at the southern border, right? Yet Mr. Magnus said he resigned in order to pursue a better future for himself. But we all know that he was about to be fired publicly because Border Chief Alejandro Mayorkas needed a fall guy to blame in order to keep his job going into next year. So what do you think? Are things going to change at the southern border? Or is it just going to be more of the same and a bunch of people are going to sneak into the country and then the government's going to say, well, they made it here, we just have to give them taxpayer money? What do you think is going to happen? Now, domestic oil companies say they can prove President Joseph Robinette Biden is directly to blame for high gas prices and high food prices in America. It's not just a global phenomenon, they say. They said what is coming to the United States will devastate Americans. Their words, not mine. Two big players in the oil game released public statements after being badmouthed by President Biden and the White House. They said, the Secretary of Interior's new 5-year plan blocks new oil drilling plans until 2028 and only provided 11 oil leasing opportunities nationwide. They said President Biden admitted to the American people that he has no plans to do new drilling. He said, no more drilling. There is no more drilling. I haven't formed any new drilling. This is from the president's own mouth. They pointed out how Biden has admitted his goal is to end all fossil fuels while he is president. That's only 2 more years. In a public statement, they wrote, the message is clear. Joe Biden is directly responsible for high gas prices, rising home heating costs, and high grocery prices that are crushing every American. The Biden administration is to blame for this self-inflicted energy crisis and the looming diesel shortage. This administration has slowed down federal permitting. Lastly, they pointed out, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen asked banks, American banks, to stop funding fossil fuel projects and said she personally wants to see big oil go bankrupt. Now, these are Marxist remarks that will devastate the whole country, according to these people in big oil. Now, I'm curious to know what you think. Is this going to cripple the country? Or is this just a bunch of smoke and mirrors from big oil so that they can continue to make gas prices? Has President Biden directly impacted gas prices, diesel prices, and food prices? Or are they using him as a scapegoat? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, in addition to all of this, National Ocean Industries Association President Eric Milito slammed Biden for focusing on politics instead of measures that would boost U.S. energy security. Here's what he had to say. Decisions to restrict domestic production are devastating to Americans. There's that word twice, devastating. Milito said, every past president, Republican or Democrat, has recognized the strategic importance of domestic oil and gas production. Restricting American energy development will quite simply lead to reduced American supplies, higher prices, lost investment, destruction of high-paying jobs throughout the country, harmful geopolitical consequences, and a reversion to dependency on foreign suppliers such as Russia, Iran, and China, who have little interest in reducing emissions and protecting workers and the environment. So basically, Mr. Melitos says, you are making us dependent on countries that don't care for the United States and don't care for keeping the earth clean and producing oil and gas in a clean manner. So do you think Mr. Melitos has a point? Is America becoming weaker as we give up control of our energy independence? Or are gas prices a Republican and Democrat issue? And all past presidents have seen this, but our current president isn't seeing it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, this is my update for today. As I know more, I will definitely come on and share more with you. Make sure to take 20 seconds to get your name entered to be one of the winners of the $15,000 in cash that Casey and I are giving away. Thanks to select video sponsors. We're so grateful for each of them. And I'll make sure to leave a link in the video description and the pinned comment down below. Now, before you go, I want to remind you that you are amazing. I appreciate you being in my community. Make sure to check out this important video and be subscribed to the channel. Hey, thanks for stopping by today, and I will see you on the next video.